We are celebrating 17 years of marriage. It started as a friendship 22 years ago in 1998 at Wits Technikon, Doornfontein, Johannesburg, where we met at Student Christian Organization, which was an organization for Christian students to have fellowship, to gather together, to worship, to learn from the Word of God, to be taught from the Word of God, and that is where we met.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw you. We had a scripture, what do you call it?
Student Christian Organization,
Yes.
SCO.
SCO meeting. There were new students who had just come in, and she went to the front, of course, to greet us and tell us where she came from. She was wearing a jersey, a pinkish jersey.
I can't remember.
But I didn't think much of her. I just thought, another new student. I was at a place where I was no longer looking, by the way. Yeah, so, and we started a friendship. Just friendship. How long did it take for us to, before we got married? I mean, the whole situation between marriage and between us now starting to date and marriage.
Okay, that was, did we meet in January or February?
It must have been January when the
schools opened.
Yeah.
But it must have been towards the end of January. And we went on our first date. It wasn't an official date, by the way, on your birthday on the 25th of May of that same year.
1998.
Yes. So I can just say that we can make your birthday that year our first date.
It was.
Yeah.
We went to Spurs.
Yes, at Eastgate Mall.
And I ate ribs for the first time. I think that was.
No, you didn't eat ribs for the first time.
I ate the ribs for the first time on my birthday.
Spare ribs.
Spare ribs, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, any type of ribs. She took me out, and we're a little bit still afraid of each other. I remember she was talking loud, and I wanted to tell her to, but I was a very nice guy. I didn't tell her.
Well, Spur is a very noisy place. There's a lot of music, so I wanted to make sure that he can hear what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we're sitting close to each other. But we're not dating yet, we're just getting to know each other. Yeah. That was 98.
Yeah.
And then, when did we start going out?
In June. But we
June.
said that we'd set your birthday as our
Yeah,
first
because
date.
it was at first date. But we're not going out.
Yeah.
That one is for sure. And I think I went back to Botswana in June, right?
Yeah, towards the end of June. At the end of the semester.
And so we became very sure of our relationship when I was away.
No,
And
before you went away.
But anyway, when our relationship was new, I was staying in Botswana. Those
Yeah.
were the intense 6 months.
Yes, very
And then the
intense.
following year, I went to
Hatfield.
Hartfield, to Bible school,
In
99.
1999.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So I was in Pretoria, she was in Joburg, and
Yes.
I was staying in a res. She was staying in res.
Yeah. That was such a relief when he got school. He got admitted at Bible school at Hatfield Christian Church in Pretoria, because those 6 months, I don't know, you may have come to visit maybe once. Yeah. Once or twice. But it was very hard. We just had it was
And we are not allowed to have relationships at the year of your life.
Yes.
Except
but
me.
before Year of Your Life, which is 1999, we had the long distance relationship via phone calls, and by then we didn't have cell phones, so we had one public phone in the corridor. So whoever would pick up the phone, then they would call you, and say "Kunegile 103." Then I was supposed to run to the phone, and sometimes you would find that one which was on our block busy or engaged, and you would call the other one on the other side. And I'm sure the students on that other side would be annoyed because they have to call me from so far, and when I'd come, I'd speak for such a long time. I used to literally take the phone and sit down on the floor to
And
talk.
we used to write letters to each
Yes,
other.
and
We
wrote
still
a
have
lot of
them, like
a lot of letters.
like proper letters with your hand and big cards. You know, she's the modern girl with those big cards with flowers
For
type of
Valentine's
thing
Day, for
that I didn't know.
birthdays.
Remember, I had never celebrated my birthday. I think the first time my birthday was a celebration was when she took me out on my birthday. What was I turning that year?
23.
23, yes. That was the first birthday. And I never, made big deals out of birthdays.
Yeah.
She taught me to make big deals out of them.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, okay, I was at Bible school from 99 to 2002, May. That's when I went to Tabo. And, yeah.
So our relationship grew as he would either come to visit in Joburg, I would find accommodation for him somewhere, or we had to get permission from the church for me to visit where the girls stayed, the girls' residence. It would be the same house but just different blocks. So we used to visit each other a lot during weekends.
And we never misbehaved. When we got married, everything was still intact.
Yes.
Yeah. So we got married 2003.
Yeah.
In May.
But before we got married, he just left. He was called quickly. He was supposed to finish the rest of 2002 in Pretoria, finish off his degree in Bible and theology in ministry. But then the church, his sending church, had said that their daughter assembly needed a pastor. So he was called quite abruptly to go to Tsabong. And I was in such panic because that was like more than 1,000 kilometers away from Joburg where he was going. And by then we already knew that we wanted to get married. But he had no money for lobola and we couldn't set a wedding date. So it was like he's going to Botswana and I don't know how we're going to visit each other or how we're going to see each other. So that was very heavy.
And he used to ask me questions, like, when are we getting married? What kind of a house will we be staying in? I want to start, making curtains for the house. I'm just like, I don't even know.
That was after the lobola, my love.
No?
Yes.
You know how girls have these dreams about their family, weddings and stuff. Anyway, she was like that. So, yeah, we had a bit of a challenge with getting married because of finances. But God, who is faithful, came through. God spoke to a friend of mine. And,
Do you remember which month it was in 2002?
Oh, probably August. Yeah, August 2002, somewhere there, yeah. Because I received the money and then I started, because it wasn't enough. So I used to...
No, tell the story properly how.
Okay.
I remember one night I had moved now from Res because I was attached to a company where I was doing my practical training. So I had moved to a flat in Parktown, Johannesburg. And I remember this night we were having just an intense conversation about, what is the plan? How are we going to get married? Because this long distance thing is very strenuous. And I remember, I think that particular night I was really nagging about it and I really wanted some answers. I think I was really frustrated.
She was.
And it was at night already. And while we had that conversation and we said good night and we hung up the phones, and then he calls me about an hour later with some good news.
I said, I got the money. She thought I was joking.
Yes, because an hour before that he had nothing. So I thought he was pulling a prank on me. And I told him that's nothing to joke about.
But anyway, it was true. God had answered, and yeah. So I started buying books, CDs.
You told them with a friend from the States.
Oh, yes, a friend of mine from the States. He's a pastor now.
He was studying at the States at that time.
Yeah, he was studying there. The wife actually was studying. He was doing Bible school there.
Yes.
So God spoke to them, and they sent me $2,000 then. And so when the money came in, I bought. I used to sell books, Christian books
from Rhema,
and
Hatfield.
And Hatfield. So I bought books, CDs, DVDs. the hill song
Hillsong.
during the time of Darlene Check, you know.
Yes.
Almighty God, my Redeemer, my hiding place, my safe refuge, no other name like Jesus.
I used to bring lots of those into
And they
Botswana.
would sell a lot.
Yeah, we used to sell. I'll drop it at along the way to Tsabong. I'll drop in different places along the way, and then when I come back, collect the money, go and buy more. And so I managed to pay by December of 2002. All of the lobola was paid. Remember, they had charged me 20,000, and they gave me discount of 2.5. But I had paid all the lobola and bought all of the clothes that were needed. I was just waiting for the wedding
And the
day.
rings. And the rings.
The rings were paid for, and you know, we designed. She wanted a special ring that was designed for her, and made for her specifically. All of that was paid by December. I was just waiting for the wedding day. We wanted to get married
In March of
because
2003.
you were graduating.
No, but I was graduating in April. I don't know why we wanted to get married in March.
Yeah. So the father said no, May.
May, yeah.
And so I was just waiting for May. 5 months. I had paid everything. So I was just waiting for the 5 months to come through.
Yes.
And ultimately it came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2002 was 2003, quite a special year for me, because in April, early that month, I got my license, and on the 22nd of April was my graduation ceremony. I was graduating in food technology, and the 3rd of May was our wedding day. So it was a very busy time for me. It was a time of open heavens and showers of blessings.
She was working at my comic in Midrand.
Yes.
And she was very
And I used
clear.
to love my job.
She was very clear that when we get married, she resigns, she goes with me. She actually resigned end of March.
Initially, I wasn't going to resign because my family, a lot of them were saying I should resign once I get a job in Botswana. But at McCormick, where I used to work, there's a lady who came in 2002, Tseleng Sabela, and she became a friend of mine. She sort of became like a mentor and sort of discipled me, and she taught me a lot about marriage, gave me books to read and how marriage should be prioritized, especially by Christians. And I think the Lord really used her to work in my heart to make the right decision concerning marriage. That before we even get married, you know, that marriage was a priority. Marriage and family was a priority to me. So that gave me the strength to, you know, to resign from my job, which I loved. I loved the company. I loved the people that I worked with. And I was really at the prime of my life.
Yeah, she was a food technologist in the New South Africa, a black woman.
Yeah.
There were many opportunities for black women during that time who were in her industry.
Yes, but I really felt, you know, led by God that, you know, I can resign and go start a family with my husband. And I think when I look back now, this was important because we are pastors. We talk about marriage a lot. So, you know, a lot of these things that you talk about, it must be things that you must practice what you preach. And the Lord has allowed us to go through difficult times, go through times when we lacked or when we had plenty, but be together, walk, you know, this marriage walk together. So when I tell, you know, women to prioritize their family, it's something that I have done. And I really thank God for that. It wasn't an easy road, but it's something that the Lord helped us through.
And I must say that when we got married, she was earning more than 11 grants, plus other benefits, medical aid and stuff. And I was just starting off as a pastor. I had an allowance of 2 grants. And she resigned, left all of that to come and stay with me in Tsabong. And how was your initial reaction when you got to Tsabong?
Oh, sure. By the way, I love my husband a lot. Like, I adore him. And even then, so you can imagine as a 23-year-old, when we got married, I was 23. So I was just, you know, smitten by my Prince Charming. And he just loves me and cares for me. So I feel very safe with him. And that was from the beginning of our marriage. So we made the drive to Tsabong at night. So when we got to our new home, it was very late. So we just arrived and went to bed soon after that. And in the morning, that is when I saw the place properly. And Tsabong is in the Kalahari Desert. It's got white sand and it's a very dry place. And it's a very slow, it's a rural place. But there's government development there, like as in government offices, a primary school, police station, a junior secondary school.
And this was 17 years ago. It has improved
Quite a bit.
quite a bit.
Yes.
So
but
this
it
was 17
very
years ago.
different to what I was used to. I mean, for those past 5 years, I had stayed in Joburg and Pretoria, worked in Midrand. So I was used to a fast-paced life, very modern, very cosmopolitan. And there I was in the desert, Tsabong. I really felt like Moses when he went to Midian.
But she was there. She was there. She's a very clean woman. She doesn't like any dust. But then, Tsabong, it doesn't matter how much you clean, dust will find its way in.
Yeah, because the sand is so fine and it can get very windy.
Yeah.
The desert conditions.
Yes. So that was the beginning
Yes.
of our journey. And we were in Tsabong until 2006 when we moved to Gaps.
Yeah. But it was very hard for me there in the beginning, like settling. And I just think when you think of your peers and the life that you had before, and you think you're going to remain behind, that you're going to progress slower in life, that did bother me and nag at me. And then in end of February 2004, the company that I had worked for, the lady who had filled my position, called me back to fill in for her for maternity leave. And I think the Lord brought that as an opportunity for me, to really experience now, because I was complaining a lot in Tsabong and throwing tantrums there at God. So now he gave me this opportunity to go and make the money and be in a modern setup. But my loved one was far away, and that was not easy. And by then, in 2004, we had already conceived our first daughter. So I moved at the end of February to start working in March in South Africa, and he was in Tsabong. It was a very long 6 months for me. And I demanded that he comes to Johannesburg at least once a month.
From Tsabong.
That was expensive and strenuous, but I was pregnant. I was so emotional. I used to cry so much. I used to miss him so much, and sometimes I cried myself to sleep. And the church that I was going to Centurion Christian Church. They are very family oriented. And even the home cells, like the ladies have their home cells alone, and the men. So I think it makes up for ladies' fellowship and men's fellowship. And so everyone who was in that home cell, was a married lady. And so you could really feel the gap of being, I sort of felt like misplaced, and it would make me sad, though it was a very safe place and it was good for me, that fellowship and that covering, it was very good for me. It was the most important thing there. My social life was my church life, my Christian life. And I looked forward to home cell every Wednesday and church every Sunday. I never missed, because it meant so much to me, and it filled that void that I had, of being away from my husband. But it was not easy, because I saw families on churches on Sunday, and I had many wishes at that time that I wished had filled Christian church, because we still had good contact with them, that they would hire him and he would come to, because I thought South Africa was the best place for us to live then.
And I was not moved. I knew that my call was in Botswana, not in South Africa, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to to change. It was very clear that God had called me here. But yeah, eventually we did come to Gaborone,
Yes.
2006.
Okay, our first daughter was then born in September. And just before that, I moved from Centurion to stay at Sunnyside, Pretoria. So I did go to Hatfield Christian Church. And I felt so drawn to it because, that is where most of our dating happened, at Hatfield Christian Church. And I really longed for him to come back there and work there. But that was not going to work. So I had Tiamo. We had Tiamo in September, the 15th.
Of 2004.
Yeah. And then I went to Woodbank just for my grandmother and my aunt to help me with the baby, and for the baby to be old enough to travel.
And I was there.
Yeah, to travel
She
that
strangled
long.
me.
Strangled you for what?
When you're going through labor.
Yeah, but we had to wait until Tiam was 6 months to get all her immunizations and just the 6-week checkup for me as well. Then we traveled back to our desert home in Tsabong, which was we got there the beginning of November. Yeah.
Yep. God was good there. I mean, we learnt a lot there,
Yes.
in terms of ministry and also bonding, just a lot.
Because it was just us. Our families were very far away, so we were very close. Whenever he would go to like work or meetings, he was involved with Cape at the time. I would really look forward to him because I was home, coming home for lunch. That just meant so much. So we were really, really close. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good foundation for us because we really bonded and, became one in Tsabong.
Yeah, eventually when we moved to Gaps, which was a different setup, a different church, which was more advanced than the Tsabong one, we learned a lot there also. But tragedy struck in 2008. In 2007, we had a child.
Oh, just before that, when I came back from Joburg, I actually had a job offer, which they wanted me to start when my baby was 6 months old. And this was very tempting, and I really wanted to take the job. But, as Christians, I'd really encourage you that don't make rash decisions or just decide on what, the majority thinks. Because it was very attractive for me to take that job. But my husband was still in Tsabong. And I really prayed about it. And I didn't feel that I should take that job in South Africa, but I was really tempted. And I also got a job in Gaborone by then. And I was supposed to start in November of 2004. But I didn't know anyone in Gaborone. We didn't have accommodation. I didn't have relatives, anyone to look after my child. So I thought of renting a small place somewhere and then looking for a stranger whom I didn't know to look after my baby. That also didn't sit well with me. So I just decided that through prayer and a lot of counsel from wise people around us, I decided to go back to Tsabong, raise my child, because family to me again was very important, and I wanted my husband and I to be there to raise the baby together. And I think after I made that decision to settle, then I started enjoying Tsabong. I started to enjoy the quiet place. I watched a lot of Christian television. I enjoyed, being a homemaker during that time, and the Lord spoke to me a lot. And that is the time when I realized that the Lord wants me to work hand in hand with my husband in ministry. And so that was a very special time for me.
All right. Yeah, she stays in Tsabong. You can see I've been trying to push to Gaborone. She's still back in Tsabong.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So we in 2007 we had another baby.
Yes, in June 2007.
And when she was born, throughout the pregnancy everything went well. But when she was born, we realized that there were some problems medically with her.
Yeah.
She
had not developed well.
Yes. So there's some brain problems. It was the beginning of a horrible time in many ways.
Yeah, it was a tough time.
It was tough.
Yeah. I think any, expectant family and the expectant mother, there's just those expectation. There's a lot of expectation. And when you are pregnant, you just look forward to receiving your baby and nursing them and enjoying them. Babies are very enjoyable. I think that's one of the most wonderful times in a woman's life, in a family's life, having a newborn. And our first 2 months with her was just in hospital, ICU, and it was a very tough time. She had a lot of congenital abnormalities. Her brain had not fully formed, so we know that the brain is the function of our bodies, is how we function. It sends messages to how we should function. She didn't have her palate. She just had a lot of problems, and it was really sad to see a little child like that suffer like she did, with breathing, with feeding. Her temperature would rise ever so often. It was a very tough time, but we really experienced God's grace, and we had to lean on God's grace.
So we were in hospital for 2 months.
Yeah.
And then, because the doctors really could not help, ultimately we just asked that they give us our child, we go home.
Yeah, so they trained us how to
How to
manage
take
her at
care of
home.
the child. I used to put the tube in
And how
for
to do
feeding.
CPR.
How to do CPR.
Because she used to stop breathing.
Yeah,
by then.
we had to buy alarms for her so that if there's no movement, you wake up and you do, what they had trained us to do. It was quite hectic, and she was with us for 13 months.
Yeah.
And in between,
But we didn't think she was even going to make it through the first day,
Yeah.
the first week, the first month.
the doctors did not give us much hope. They didn't think she would last for a week after she was born. But God was gracious.
Yeah.
And then my wife became pregnant in the middle of all of that drama again.
Yes.
And yeah.
And the baby, because of the stress of our second born and just the strain, the baby wasn't growing well as well. The gynecologist was not happy with the growth chart of the growing baby inside of me. Yeah.
So she had to be admitted at Pretoria again.
In June.
In June.
It was the 30th of June, 2008.
While I was left with the other sickly child in
Witbank.
Witbank. And so the day that she was supposed to be operated on,
Yeah, they decided that the baby, it seemed that there was no more blood flow from me or it was slowing down drastically to the womb. So they decided that I should have a Caesar. It was a Thursday.
yeah,
Yeah, I think.
around 2.
Yeah, the third. Yeah, the 3rd of July.
Yes.
And Guhle had,
That was in 2008 now.
yeah.
Uh,
So he had come so that he could be there for the operation. And our cousin Nono was with Guhle at my brother's house in Witbank. Guhle grew on so many people so much. She used to, even though she wasn't growing, but she used to interact with us.
she never passed 5 kg.
Yeah, she never
Great.
passed kg, and we loved her. She used to smile, and to us who were close to her, we loved her a lot, and she had a special place in our hearts. And so when he was traveling to me in Pretoria, actually when he arrived, Nono called to say that Guhle had stopped breathing, and we thought it was one of those apnea attacks that she used to have in her early life. And my husband tried to give her instructions on how, to help her to resuscitate the baby again.
But unfortunately, that was it. She departed then. And so I talked to the doctors who were supposed to do an operation on my wife.
The Caesar, yeah.
Actually, at that time when Kutle passed on, my wife was supposed to be in the operation room. But there was another emergency, so they said no, a little bit later. And so we talked to them, and we had to go to Witbank now. And I talked to my brother-in-law at the same time to arrange for the funeral the following morning because I had to take my wife back. It was quite a hectic
It was a
time.
hectic time. Yeah, I was given permission to go and bury Guhle, but I was told that I have to come back on
The
Friday.
following day,
Yeah,
yeah.
the following day.
So after the funeral in the morning, I took my wife back. And when we got there, the doctor said my wife, emotionally needed to calm down. So they postponed the operation to Monday.
Monday,
Yeah. And when that third born was born, Sakiwe, because she was premature,
Yeah.
she also could not breathe properly. So she went straight to ICU again.
But
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that because I was under anesthetic, like a total general anesthetic. So I didn't see, which I think was good for me because we were hoping to be comforted by, a new healthy child.
And so the baby struggled.
To breathe, yeah. Her tongue was really bad.
Yeah. So the baby struggled to breathe on her own. And so ultimately, she used to roll her tongue. That's what they thought, and block her windpipe. So they decided that they will stitch her tongue towards the front of her mouth. A simple 15 minutes or less operation. But when they sedated her, that was it.
That was the 10th day, yeah.
Yeah, it
the
was
10th
10
day.
days after, yeah. When they sedated her, the child passed.
Yeah.
And so there we were, 3 pregnancies, 3 children that were born, and we were left with just the first one, Tiam, the firstborn. And I remember while they delayed in the room, I looked at my wife and I said, we need to go for a holiday after this. And she looked at me and said, with Sakie, with the baby. And I just looked at her because in my spirit I knew the baby was gone. And so after about 45 minutes, the lady doctor came out and you could see it in her face that the baby was gone.
Yeah.
And indeed, there was too much for us. You can imagine, we both were still young. And 2008, that's 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But the painful thing about that at the same time is that we couldn't, have the funeral like as soon as we could because
Yes.
it was now a hospital case.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a natural death. Because of the anesthetic, they needed to do a postmortem to, to discover the cause of death. So we had to wait.
Yeah, 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, 2 weeks or so for that, and that also just drags the grief.
Yeah.
As well.
And we never got the postmortem report. We've been
I think we actually did. We just said unnatural causes. That's what the death certificate said.
Yeah, but we never really got the
report,
the postmortem report.
Yeah.
We we talked to the police and there was just we don't know what happened, but we decided to leave everything to the Lord at that stage.
Yeah.
And after the loss of 2 kids, I think we just decided we are fine with 1 child.
Yes. We had actually opted for sterilization, and I was sure that they had done it after the birth of Sakiwe. But thank God for good medical ethics, because I had 1 child at the time of having Sakiwe. I had 1 child, and this one was premature, and they were not sure if she would make it. They did not sterilize me.
And we were surprised. We found out after how long?
Yeah, wow, I don't know.
Maybe 2 weeks that they didn't do it, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
And so we did have 2 more children, 2 more girls.
We had Mandisa in 2009 December, and Annalisa in 2013 October.
Yes. And they have been such a great blessing in that way.
Yeah, and the Lord has really, He showed us, He vindicated us, because the hospital really thought that there was maybe something wrong with our genes of the 2 children that we had. And they had said that if I want to have children again, we should go through their whole fertility program, and they wanted, to what is it? Should I say manufacture the pregnancy? But we didn't even plan, But when Mandisa came, she was a healthy baby, and Annalisa as well. No special things, no. It was just God's.
We call it Tsegofatso.
Yeah, Mandisa, like
blessing.
sweet blessing, because the Lord just, gave her to us. Without us knowing. I think we had already limited Him. We wanted to, make our own decisions and just think that was our portion. But the Lord had more for us, and He's just really blessed us up abundantly. Yeah.
So, yeah, it has been a great journey, and God has continued to make family very important to us. It's part of our ministry, we believe, that we minister as a family, and we are thankful to God for that.
Yeah.
It has been great. And any encouragement to married couples?
Yes, I'd really like to encourage married couples out there. That family is God's order. It's God ordained. It's a beautiful thing. He who finds a good wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And I think, the Lord has so much purpose through marriages for different people. I know that even my calling and my purpose it's just intertwined with me being married to Muluki, and it's a really good thing. And it's very important, who you are married to those who are not married. The person that you get married to, they affect how you will fulfill the purpose that God has for you.
And I must say that we have both influenced each other.
Yeah.
I'm a really different person. If you know how I grew up, my background, and see who I am today now, her influence has been very positive in that way. That And so we must be willing to influence each other.
Yes.
And be better in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. May God bless you. Hopefully that this has encouraged you. We will share some of our family photos in this video to inspire you and to encourage you. And I want you, as I close, that I want you to know that part of the last army of God has to do a lot with bringing families together, restoration, bringing parents to the children and children to the parents. And so that's something that we pray that God will help us with, and pray for us that we will continue steadfastly in this way of the Lord. We are really trusting God that we are entering another season in our ministry.
Yes.
We have seen this happening over different times. When I went to Tabong, it was a different season of being trained in the desert. When I went to Gaborone, it was a different season of being trained in the structures, how church really works, and observing, administratively how church can be, and maybe dreaming big also, because I was there when they built the 11 million Pula building. I was part of the process. And then when I went to Mogokgwanes, it was more like discovering who I am in ministry as a person together, where we've been able to explore much more as a couple.
Yes.
And she has found the freedom to minister there and to lead women, children. And so we have grown. And so I feel that we are entering another season, which is very, almost like a higher call that all of this training has all been about. And we are looking forward to the revival that we believe is coming. And we want to encourage you to look out for it and prepare your hearts and your minds for the things that God may have for us. God bless you. Hopefully you have been blessed by this. And we love you guys, and pray for us.
I love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.